Hey everyone. So we will learn about our immune system or our lymphatic system today. So the immune system or the lymphatic system is also known as the defense mechanisms. This is our ability to fight against pathogens that produce the disease. Some people that have lack of resistance is called the susceptibility. So susceptibility is the inability to fight against disease. For examples, people with AIDS, they usually unable to fight against disease, and most of the time they will die because of the secondary infection. For our defense mechanism, there are two types. The first one is called the non-specific defense mechanism or non-specific resistance. And the second one is called the specific defense mechanism or also known as the immunity. Before we go to this different type of defense mechanism, we will learn the components of our body and also molecules, cells that help us fight against the disease. First, okay, we have the armies in our body and also we have weapons. So we actually able to create weapons in our body, especially in the blood plasma. So the armies, okay, the one that fight against infection, which is the cell that fights against infection, are called the leukocyte or white blood cell. And the weapons, okay, that we create or produce is also known as the antibodies or immunoglobulin. So just for our information, and this is maybe to be able to understand the different mechanism easily, we can call that we have army, which is white blood cell, and we can create weapons inside our cell, inside our body, is called the antibodies or immunoglobulin. There are five types of white blood cell. So there are five types of army that fights against infection inside our body. The first one is called the neutrophils. So neutrophil is the most abundant type of white blood cell. They usually fight against bacterial infection. The second one is called the lymphocyte. Lymphocyte is actually consists of two main type of cell. It's called the B cell and the T cell. And most of the time, the lymphocytes will fight against viral infection. The third type is called the monocyte. This is actually the biggest type of white blood cell. Therefore, it's also known as a macrophages. Macro mean big, phages mean eater. So this is the big eater. They usually fight against bacteria for long-term infection. So they're going to be stay for a while to fight bacteria. And then the fourth type of white blood cell is called the eosinophils. This is the one that fights against parasites, like for example, malaria, worms infection. And the last one is called the basophils. And basophils usually fight against allergens. So people with the allergy usually they will have increase in number of basophils. The weapons, the one that we create inside our body, especially in the blood plasma, is called the antibodies or immunoglobulin. This immunoglobulin is actually created by the B cell, which is one type of lymphocyte. So the B cell, plasma B cell, produce five types of antibodies or immunoglobulin. Based on the abundancy, okay, the first immunoglobulin that they will create is called the IgA, IgG, I'm sorry, IgG, immunoglobulin G, and this is usually fight against all type of infections. The second one is called the IgA, immunoglobulin A. The IgA usually present in the liquid part of our body, like for example, in the sweat, in the tears, saliva. It's not really in the blood plasma, not in the blood tissue. They usually fight also against all type infections. And then the next one is called the IgM. This is usually fight against foreign cells, such as, for example, during blood transfusion, usually IgM that will try to get rid of the foreigner cells if it is not compatible. And then the next one is called the IgD. This is also fight against all type of infection, whether bacteria, viruses, or the parasite. And IgE, this is the least abundant one. This is the one that actually fight against allergens, allergic reaction. So if you look at the army, the basophil is the least abundant one. They fight allergy. And also the IgE, this is the least abundant one. They also fight against allergen. So they kind of work together, the army using the IgE as the weapon to fight against allergens. And then there are also some additional weapons that we create. The first one is called the interferons, and then complement system and toxins. So all of these are actually proteins that are created inside our body, especially in the blood, to fight against infection. Now, we go back to the armies itself, which is the leukocyte or white blood cell. There are again five types of the white blood cell. The most abundant ones is called the neutrophil. Okay, it is about 55 to 70% of white blood cell is actually neutrophils. And you already learned how it is look like under the microscope. So you already know how to identify these five types of white blood cell. So neutrophil, this is the most abundant one. They usually fight against bacterial infection. And then the second type is about 20 to 35% in our blood is called the lymphocyte. And there are two types of lymphocyte, the B cell and the T cell. They usually fight against specific pathogen, which is the viruses. And then the third type is called the monocyte. Again, this is the biggest type of leukocyte or white blood cell. Therefore, it is also known as macrophages. About 3 to 7% in our blood. They usually fight against bacteria, especially during long-term infection. And then eosinophils, about 1 to 3% in our blood. This is the one that fights against parasite like worm infection or maybe malaria infection. And then the last one, the least abundant one, is less than 1%. It's called basophils. And this one usually the one that is used to fight against allergens, which is a molecule that can cause allergic reaction. So these are the five types of white blood cell. The weapons, which is our immunoglobulins or antibodies. Also, there are five types. This is actually how they look like, the structure of these immunoglobulins. The most abundant one is IgG. So IgG, has a structure, it's called a monomer. So only one active site over here. So this one actually the site that will bind to the pathogens like maybe bacteria or viruses. So this IgG will be able to destroy or maybe inactivate the virus or bacteria by binding into this site. So it's only have one active site, therefore it is called the monomer. The second one is called the IgA, immunoglobulin A. It has two active site or two binding site, therefore it's called the dimer. So this is a dimer type of immunoglobulin. The next one is IgM. This is the one that usually fight against foreigner cell, like during the blood transfusion. It is having five active site or binding site. You see over here, five. Therefore, it is called the pentamer. So IgMs are pentamer. And then IgD, this is similar to the IgG, also only have one binding site. This is a monomer. And the IgE, the one that fight against allergens, this is also have only one binding site. Therefore, it is monomer type of antibodies. Okay, this is based on the uh, number. Okay, uh, in the cell in our blood. Okay, it's about 80%. So 55 to 70%, 80% are the IgG, and then the second one is IgA, about 13%, about 6% the IgM, 1% IgD, and less than 1% is the IgE. So these are the primary weapons or proteins that use for fighting against infection. And again, these antibodies are created by plasma B cell, which is a type of lymphocyte. We're gonna learn how these antibodies are created and when they will be created. Now, this is just for our study over here. So this is actually the normal healthy persons. Okay. Inside their body, they will have what we call the surveillance. So the white blood cell is usually controlling the whole body, whether there is infection or not, or whether there is a problem or not inside our body. So they're using the what we call the surveillance. The surveillance usually done by white blood cell, okay, especially the lymphocyte, okay, the T cell. So this white blood cell always go around our body and checking their neighborhood. So let's say this is cell over here. If there is nothing happen, they usually just, contact and say, how are you, or good morning, or good night, etc. They will not, they will not destroy the cell because this is their own community. So the white blood cell will just kind of check the body. If it is okay, then they will not do anything. So just like maybe sheriff that go around the community. And there is okay, so this is if there is nothing happen, there will be no reaction. Now, what happens if there is a foreigner cell? Let's say there is a foreigner that coming into the community. This white blood cell will recognize this. Will recognize this because what? Because this foreigner cell will have different marker compared to our own cell. So we have molecules. It's called the MHC molecule. Okay, this molecule is considered as a marker. So we have specific marker that will be recognized by the white blood cell. And if it is just our own cell, the white blood cell will not do anything, will not kill our own cell. However, if there is a foreigner cell, the marker will be different. The MSC will be different type. Therefore, the white blood cell will be able to recognize this foreigner cell. And what happened? It will destroy this foreigner cell. So kind of, destroying this foreigner cell. So the same thing like a sheriff, for example, if there is a bad guys, yeah, going to the community, then the sheriff will, capture that and arrested that person. This is how the normal healthy body perform what we call the surveillance. So surveillance will be done by white blood cell, especially the T cell. Now, our defense mechanisms, again, it is consists of two type. The first one is called the non-specific defense mechanism. The second one is called the specific defense mechanism. What does non-specific mean? It means that it will fight any type of infection, bacteria, viruses, worms, allergens. It doesn't really matter. They do not choose their pathogen specifically. The specific one will only fight against one specific infection. If it is virus, for example, they only fight for flu viruses, for example, or they will only fight the chicken pox viruses, for example. So they are very specific. The non-specific defense mechanism is also known as an innate defense mechanism. Innate mean we have it since we were born. So we have this defense mechanism with us since we were born. So we are born with this innate, non-specific defense mechanism. The specific defense mechanism is also known as acquired defense mechanism. It means that this defense mechanism will be created after there is infection, after we have the disease, or maybe after we get vaccination or immunization. So vaccination, immunization will also provoke this specific immune system or specific defense mechanism. Therefore, it is called as acquired. Acquired after we get the disease or maybe after we get vaccination or immunization. Now, the innate or non-specific defense mechanism consists of two lines. So basically, when we defend ourselves against pathogen, we have three lines of defense. First line, second line, and third line. If our first line of defense fail, then we still have the second line of defense that will fight the infection. If our second line of defense fail, we still have one more, which is the third line of defense. If the third line of defense also fail, then we don't have any more defense mechanism. It means that probably we will die because, the infection. We don't have any more way to fight them. So we have three lines of defense or three stages of defense. The first line and the second line is actually under the non-specific defense mechanism. It means that we have with us this defense mechanism since we were born. The first line of defense usually used for prevention. So before the pathogen really enter into our body, the first line try to hold them, try to protect us from the entrance of the pathogen, maybe bacteria or viruses. Therefore, in the first line of defense, we have maybe physical barriers, like for example, our skin. Our skin, our healthy skin is actually very good in defending us against bacteria or maybe viruses that try to enter into our body. So we have a very solid cell, which is keratinocyte, that make so many layers in our skin in order to protect us against infection. There is also chemical barrier. So our body actually, like for example, produce The enzyme is called the lysozyme, usually present in the tears, in saliva, in the sweat. So this lysozyme is actually able to kill some bacteria, to destroy some bacteria. So this is prevention against bacteria or maybe viruses that try to enter into our body. And also there is a genetic barrier. There are some people that may be stronger because they have a gene that make them able to fight against some infection. For example, some people that live in Africa in the malarian belt, they usually carry the gene that make them able to fight against malarian infection. So they have a stronger gene compared to other people, for example. Okay, so again, the first line of the defense mostly used for prevention. If these first lines of defense fail, basically the pathogen will enter into our body. Okay, so when they enter our body, then we have the second line of defense that will fight against this infection. The second line of defense consists of inflammatory responses. So when the bacteria enter our body, usually our body will have inflammation, will inflame. This is what we call the inflammatory responses. This is going to be the first sign of infection inside our body, which is inflammation. And then our body then produce the weapon, the interferons. The interferons will try to fight the infection or maybe to remind other healthy cell to block the infection. And there will be phagocytosis, for example, many white blood cells like neutrophil, macrophages, they have the ability to phagocyte, to eat, to destroy bacteria. And complement system, there are some proteins that work together to destroy bacterial cell. So this is part of the second line of defense. It is actually happening when the first line of defense fail, when the bacteria or viruses actually enter into our body. Now, whenever the second line of defense fail, for example, we unable to cure ourselves using the second line of defense, then we still have the third line of defense. This is going to be the last stage or the last line of defense mechanism. It is going to be very specific because it will be done by specific cell, specific white blood cell with the specific weapons to fight against specific infection. And the specific infection, after we fight them, usually we will also create what we call the immunity. Okay, after we fight this infection, if we are cure from this infection, then most of the time we will not get the same infection for the second time. So this is what we call the immunity. So the third line of defense not only help us fight against infection, but also help us to create the immunity against that specific infection. Okay, again, we're gonna learn one by one over here. So we start from the first line of defense. Again, the main function of the first line of defense is for prevention against the entrance of disease, the entrance of maybe bacteria or viruses or maybe parasite. So we have several mechanism. The first one is called the physical or mechanical barriers. This is, for example, our skin and our mucous membranes of respiratory urogenitals system, the eyes, digestive tract system. They have these mucous membranes that actually protect us from the entrance of the pathogens. For example, the outermost layer of the skin is composed of layers of epithelial tissue that compacted, cemented together, impregnated with the keratin, which is waterproof type of proteins. So there will be almost very little pathogen that can penetrate this. The problem is if we have the skin damage, for example, if our skin cut, get cut, that what happened. That usually when the bacteria enter into our body through the cut. That's the reason why if we have damage in our skin, for example, we have to really care of this skin. So put something that will protect us against the entrance of the pathogens, like for example, using bandages, for example, or using betadine in order to kill some bacteria that maybe try to enter into our body through this damage in our skin. Uh, Sweat gland. Okay, sweat gland can also flush the pathogen or protect us against the entrance of the pathogen. And then the damaged cell also will be rapidly replaced by the new one. So our skin is actually always replaceable. It's always replaced. Okay, they always perform the mitosis, especially about maybe every 10 days there will be new cell in our skin. The mucus in some of the membranes, like respiratory membrane, urogenital tract, digestive tract, this mucus able to kind of trap many bacteria, including in our nose, for example. We have a mucus that can trap many bacteria. Blinking the tear production, this is also another type of physical mechanical barrier. The acid in the stomach, that also can kill some bacteria. Hair in our nose, that also can trap many larger pathogen. So this is physical and mechanical barrier, which is the defense mechanism that prevents the entrance of the pathogen. We also have mechanical barrier. I'm sorry, this should be chemical. It's not mechanical. So this is chemical barriers. Okay, so this is chemical barriers because it is done by chemical. For example, in our skin, we have oil gland that produce the oil, sebaceous, which is oil. So oil can also trap or kill some type of bacteria. We also produce enzyme. It's called the lysozymes. So it usually present in the tears, saliva, sweat, and this enzyme able to destroy some type of bacteria. We also have salt, for example. So our sweat a little bit salty because we have salt in it. And the salt actually can also kill several type of bacteria that's sensitive against salt. Skin also have a little bit acidic pH, and this is also protect us. So this pH, this acid can also kill some bacteria. Hydrochloric acid in the stomach. So this is acid in the stomach. Our stomach is actually very acidic, pH around 2 and 3. Uh, this actually help us protect against bacteria that maybe enter by food that we eat. Okay, so this acidity in the stomach can also kill many type of bacteria that enter into our stomach through the food. Digestive juices and biles in our digestive system, they can also kill several type of bacteria. Cement contains some microbial chemicals Vagina also have acidity that can also protect against some infection or pathogens. So this is chemical. So this is chemical barrier. Okay. So in the first line of defense, we have physical, mechanical barrier, and the physical barrier. This is just illustrations of some of our first line of defense, like the sebaceous gland, the oil glands in the skin. So sometimes our skin is a little bit oily because production of this oil gland. It actually help us protect against some bacteria. The tears consist of or maybe have lysozyme in it. Mucus in the respiratory tract can trap many bacteria or viruses. Saliva, it has lysozyme. Wax in our ear, that can also trap some bacteria. Cilia, this is cilia in the respiratory tract, can help us to move or remove bacteria from this trachea, for example. Skin, our skin is very intact, a lot of layer, compacted layer, low pH in the skin, acidity, salty skin or sweat, uh, mucus, also in the respiratory tract, stomach acid, intestinal enzyme, many of them actually can also kill bacteria. Mucus in our digestive organs, some process defecation, for example, when we uh, poop, for example, it actually can carry out many bacteria also from our body. Urination can also carry some bacteria from our urethra, from our body. So this is the first line of defense. Again, the primary function of the first line of defense to prevent the entrance of many pathogens. If this one fail, then we have the second line of defense. The second line of defense, it has several sign. Okay, so usually if someone have infection, there will be sign like this. This is the sign of the second line of defense. What is the first sign? The first sign is inflammation or inflammatory responses. So the one that have infection, that place usually will be inflamed. Okay? And then phagocytosis, which is the process of eating the pathogen by some white blood cell, especially neutrophils and monocyte or macrophages. They have the ability to eat or destroy the bacteria with the process called the phagocytosis. Therefore, the neutrophil and monocyte is also known as phagocytes. Phago mean eater, cyte means cell, so cell eater. Also, we will produce antimicrobial proteins on the second line of defense. We will learn later what type of antimicrobial proteins will be produced. And then there is also T cell that actually act as natural killer. So this will produce the toxin that will destroy the pathogens that present inside our body. And then also usually when we have illness, eh, there is will be our body temperature will be increased. This is called the fever. So we will have usually will have the fever as a sign of our second line of defense. The inflammations, which is inflammatory responses, this is actually part of our second line of defense. Usually, if we have inflammations, that place will be red, therefore it's called the redness, and also will be worms, increase the temperatures, will be swelling, that's inflammation. and usually have pain or maybe itchy. And then in some case, there will be loss of function on that part of the infection. So this is the sign of the inflammatory responses. The second, uh, the second process in the second line of defense is called phagocytosis. When we have the inflammations, why we have inflammation? Because the blood is actually will be carried into the damaged area. It will carry a lot of white blood cell. Uh, the white blood cell that they carry, some of them are able to out from the blood vessel and then go to the infectious site over here. So this white blood cell that able to go here most of the time is the neutrophils and also monocyte. So they will eat this bacteria. Okay, that process is called the phagocytosis. And the white blood cell that eat this bacteria is called the phagocyte. There are two main type of phagocyte, which is neutrophils and the monocyte. Okay. This is just showing us the process of phagocytosis. So let's say this is the white blood cell. Let's say this is a neutrophil. Okay, they eat this bacteria and then the process is inside the cell, destroy it, and finally become waste that they will be removed from the cell. So this is a process of phagocytosis. The next process and the second line of defense is called the antibacterial proteins. So we will produce some proteins that will fight against bacteria. The first one is called the IFN, which is the interferons. So what is interferon? Interferon is actually produced by the infected cell. Let's say there is a virus that coming into our body, it will be infecting this cell. So those cells that have virus in it, they usually produce a protein, it's called the interferon. And this interferon will go to the healthy cell. And when the healthy cell receive the interferons, then they will create the proteins that able to block the viruses. Okay, so this is just like a good neighbor. This infected cell, yeah, they usually call the healthy cell. Like for example, it's a neighbor have a robbery, for example. They might call the neighbor say, "Hey, I just get robbed. So be careful. Close the door, close the window, and etc." So that's the function of the interferon, which is give the signal to the healthy cell to be ready to try to protect against the pathogen. We also produce what we call the complement system. This is the system that consists about 26 proteins. And this 26 protein then will attack the bacteria, especially the cell wall of the bacteria. They will kind of open the cell wall and causing the hole, create the hole in the cell wall of bacteria, and then the water will enter into the bacteria. The bacteria will be hemolysis because it's going to be very big because of the water that enter into it, and then they will eventually will be explode because of this water that fill into this bacterial cell. So this is example of the antibacterial proteins. Natural killer, this is the next process of the second line of defense. So we have the T cell that act like a natural killer, right? Like a policeman that will produce the toxin and destroy the viruses. The way they destroy the viruses is also by destroying the infected cell. So the infected cell will be also destroyed together with the virus inside the cell. So usually this natural killer also kill our own cell in order to kill the bacteria or virus inside that cell. Fever is the last sign of the second line of defense. So usually if we have infections, our body temperature will be increased. This is what we call the fever. And fever actually have several benefits to us. If the fever is still under 101, 100, for example, it's actually still a good fever because on that time, our body temperature increases, then our phagocyte will also increase their activity. It also will intensify the effect of interferons. And also some bacteria is actually unable to grow under heat. So this fever can also inhibit bacterial growth. So this is some benefits of fever. However, if the fever is really high, for example, maybe above 102, 103, then usually we have to take a fever reducer because if it is too high, this temperature can also destroy some of our enzyme. Okay, the last one, this is the third line of defense, which is specific immunity. This is also known as acquired immunity. Okay, so this is the ability of our body to defend against specific infection. Okay, so in this third line of defense, there are actually two characteristics. The first one is specificity. It means it's only fight against one specific pathogen. Like for example, if it is chicken pox, okay, we only create the specific defense against the chicken pox. Okay, so this is acquired. After chicken pox infection, then we will create this specific defense mechanism against chicken pox. After that, after we able to cure again the chicken pox, we will create the memory cell. So memory cell, when the second infection from the chicken pox enter into our body, usually we will not get the illness, the chicken pox again. Because what? Because we have the memory cell that will fight that second infections uh, in a very fast manner. So we usually don't have the sign of disease or symptom of the chicken pox disease anymore. This is what we call the immunity. But if the one that coming polio, for example, then we have to create another defense mechanism for folio viruses. So this is the third line of defense. Again, it's very specific. Depend on what type of pathogen that enter into body. Therefore, they are acquired. They will create it after the entrance of the specific pathogens. The third line of defense is actually done by a system called the lymphatic system. Lymphatic system. It produces special cell. It's called the lymphocyte, which is B cell and T cell. Okay, they also have fluid called the lymph carry into the lymphatic vessel. So they have special vessel that carry this lymph plus the T cell and the B cell. And there are some lymphatic organs that, play the roles in this lymphatic or specific defense mechanism. Like for example, we have red bone marrow. This is the one that create all type of blood cell, including the white blood cell. Therefore, the red bone marrow is also part of the immune system or lymphatic system. We have thymus. This thymus is the gland that's actually located above our heart. It is very important for the place for the T cell maturation. We have the spleen. Usually the spleen is the place for killing the organism, the pathogen. Okay, so the pathogen will be carried into the spleen, and the spleen will have many white blood cell, including the T cell and B cell. It will kill or destroy that pathogens. We also have lymph nodes. This is also special area for killing the pathogen, and some other smaller lymphatic nodes. It's called the lymphatic nodules, like for example tonsil. This is also part of the lymphatic system. That's the reason why if like a kid have infection, like for example the strep throat, their tonsil usually inflame because that's the place when they actually try to destroy the bacteria. This is part of the lymphatic system. Okay, again, this is a thymus just above the heart, and the place for making the blood cell, which is the bone marrow. So we have a lot of lymphatic nodes around our armpit. Okay, around this groin area, there are also a lot of lymphatic nodes and nodules. So these are part of the organs of the lymphatic system. So we have learned about the formations of blood cell, okay, which is created by hematopoietic stem cell. And this is the stem cell that can create several type of cell. There are again five types of white blood cell. In this include also the creation of red blood cell, the platelet, and these different type of white blood cell. The one that's specific is actually over here in the lymphoid stem cell. This is the one that create the lymphocyte. And there are two type of lymphocyte, T cell and B cell. So these actually part of the specific immune system. There are some of the T cell that become natural killer. So this natural killer is actually kill anything. It means that it's not really specific. Therefore, this is outside of this specific immune system. Again, specific immune system is done by specific cell. It's called the T cell and the B cell. This is the place for creation of this T cell and B cell, which is bone marrow. So when the B cell created, it will get mature inside the bone marrow itself. So B cells stay in the bone marrow to be mature B cell. And then the T cell, it is created in the bone marrow, but it will be transferred into thymus. In here, they will get mature. Okay, so the maturation of the T cell is actually happening in the thymus, but the production is in the bone marrow. This is just showing us the differentiation of T cell within the thymus. Then it will create two type of T cell, which is the T helper, which is CD8 over here, and the T cytotoxic or TC. So we have TC cell and we have T helper. Okay, so there are two type of T cell, T helper and TC, cytotoxic T cell. Okay, so this is the T helper, the CD4, and this is the TC, the cytotoxic T cell. The T helper, they usually produce a chemical like cytokine, interleukins that will help other blood cell, including the TC itself and also the B cell, to be activated. The TC, this is actually the one that will kill the viruses by killing the infected cell. Okay, so T helper is just helping. The TC is actually the one that really kill the viruses using enzyme and also toxin. So this is actually perforin is a toxin, granizyme is an enzyme. So this TC produce enzyme and toxin that will destroy the viruses by destroying the infected cell. Okay, so this is the activations of B cell by the T helper. So T helper also activate the B cell. Okay, when the B cell activate, it can produce the IG, remember, okay, immunoglobulin. IgG, IgA, IgM, IgD, and IgE is produced by the plasma B cell after being activated by the T helper. Okay, so this is activations of B cell. Okay, when its microbe enter, for example, the B cell try to destroy it, but it need help from the T helper. So T helper actually produce like cytokines, interleukins that will activate this B cell. And when it is activated, it actually can create the memory B cell over here. It will not be used during this time. And also, it will create the plasma cell. This is the one that will be used to produce these antibodies. And the antibodies will kill or destroy the pathogens, including bacteria and viruses. So whenever we get the second infection from the same microbe, the same virus over here, then the memory B cell is the one that will kill them right away. So therefore, we will not have illness anymore. This is what we call the immunity. It is done by the memory cell. This is just illustration how our body actually works against infection. Let's say on this left side, can use different color. Okay, so this side over here is normal, healthy cell. So when we are healthy, again, remember there is a surveillance by the TC. So the TC will survey our cell. Okay, if there's nothing happen, then this TC will not do anything. This is just like a sheriff. We have also the T helper over here that also help the sheriff. So this is kind of the deputy sheriff that also survey the neighborhood, the environment. So if there is nothing happen, it's only just our cell, our community, then there will be no distraction. But what happen if virus, for example, enter into our cell? Eh? Therefore, when the virus enter our cell, the T helper will recognize it. So these macrophages over here will try to kill the viruses and produce what we call the antigen. This antigen will be recognized by the T helper, and the T helper then will be activated into the T helper clone. Therefore, it's called, acquired. We will create more of this after the infection. And also, we will produce the T helper memory cell. The T helper activated will also produce maybe interleukin, cytokine, release into the B cell, and also release into the TC. When the B cell receive this chemical, the interleukin or cytokine, then it will activate into the B memory cell and the plasma B cell. The plasma B cell then produce these antibodies. Okay. So whenever the TC receive the chemical, the molecule from the T helper, maybe cytokine or interleukin, it will activate into the TC clone and into the TC memory cell. The TC clone is the one that will produce the enzyme and also the toxin that will destroy this infected cell, including destroying the viruses. Some viruses will be available in the plasma, in the blood plasma. Then it will be destroyed by these antibodies produced by the plasma B cell. And usually it takes about 7 to 14 days in order to destroy this infection. That's the time when we actually have the disease. We have flu, for example, most of the time between 7 to 14 days. COVID-19, for example, about 7 to 14 days. If we cure from that disease, what happened? Okay, all of them will be gone, including the antibodies will be gone. If we get another infection from the same viruses, let's say another COVID-19, the same species, then what happened? This will not happening again because what? Because we have the memory cell, the B memory cell, we have the T helper memory cell, and we have the TC memory cell. It will fight that second infection right away. So we will not have the disease again. Okay, this is the same thing if we get the vaccinations or immunizations. Usually, we also will create the memory cell. Therefore, we will be immune against that type of disease. So this is how the immune system actually develop. Okay, so this is the process. This is illustrations how the process is actually happening. And again, when we get the infections, usually our immune system will produce the antibodies. If we check, we can actually check the antibodies. Usually it will be increasing during the infection. During the second infection, we have already have a lot of an antibodies that will be produced. So we're gonna be having the immunity for the second infection over here. I think that's all. So I hope it's help you understand the defense mechanism that we have. I'll see you again later. Goodbye.